So, are you someone who is contemplating and thinking about a job change? Or maybe you've recently started looking for a new job, or maybe you're already interviewing at multiple places and you really want to be successful in your new role. If so, then this video is definitely for you. As per the recent study by Bamboo HR, 31% of the people are dissatisfied and have left their job within first 6 months of joining, with 68% of those departing within the first 3 months. If that's not enough, 27% of employers usually make the decision within first 1 to 2 months that whether they really want to hire a probationer or not, and 18% of new recruits, which is 1 in 5, fail their probation, which is the first 3 to 6 months. Hi everyone, my name is Parul and welcome back to my channel Ask Parul. Ask stands for Always Seek Knowledge, and in this channel I focus on sharing my knowledge on getting professional growth, helping people gain financial security and personal development to help and inspire people to live a well-rounded, balanced and successful life. So if you do like this video, then do give it a thumbs up, do subscribe to my channel and also give me support by buying the thanks button which is right below the video. You can also connect with me. The details are given in my channel, and you can also join my channel by becoming a member so that you can have a one-on-one chat with me, and obviously I can help you with a much more targeted advice. So let's get started with this video. So I have spent almost 14 plus years in leadership roles, and I have changed several jobs in my career. I've worked in different kind of roles, and this is definitely one of the topics that I really wanted to talk about because I genuinely feel that our work and job is inarguably an integral part of our life where we end up spending almost one third of our life, and it is so important part of our life that it tends to always affect our financial security, and it also tends to impact our personal well-being. And studies have shown that choosing the wrong job can be the number one source for both financial distress and also for personal unhappiness, including poor mental and emotional health. So, if you really want to make the right decision about your next job move, then today I will be sharing with you 5 areas that you must absolutely focus on during your next job search and during the interview process that will not only help you to maximize your chances of success in your new job, but it will also help you to give that well-rounded, balanced and overall successful life. There is a bonus tip at the end of the video that many people do tend to miss out, so do ensure that you stay till the end of this video. So, area number one is that you should get a full clarity on the job role. Now, when looking at the job role, I think a lot of people just rely on the standard job description, but the job description is usually a standard thing. It doesn't tell you what exactly your job is going to be. It can tell you at a high level, but not really at an overall level. So, ensure that you ask some deeper question about what is going to be my day-to-day responsibilities like. How does my typical day at work would look like? If you are expected to have multiple responsibilities, then how are you expected to split your time amongst multiple responsibilities? Is it an individual contributor role, or is it a management or a people leadership role? If it's a mix of both, what's the proportion of split of your time that is expected between the two? If it's a technology field related job, then what kind of tools and techniques will you be expected to be perfect in? And if you're not so good at some of those things, then what kind of trainings will be provided so that you can be upskilled? Now, I would really like to point out that as much as people think that interviews are just for you to impress the interviewer, it doesn't work that way. Interviews are always and 100% a two-way street. So if you go with that mindset that I am also in an equal position to judge my employer the way my employer is judging me, I think then you would probably make the right decision. And a lot of people fail to understand that when is the right time to ask these questions. As per me, the best time is that you constantly evaluate. Most likely you will be having 3 to 4 rounds of interviews and discussions, and you should constantly try to find out time in between those interviews to ask some of these questions. Other things that you may also want to focus is that, is this a replacement role or is this a new role? If it's a replacement role, you should definitely ask that why the earlier person has left, and most likely you may not get the right answer, but at least it will give you some indication of what could be the potential problems that the earlier person was facing. If it's a new role, you will obviously get to understand that perhaps the team is scaling up or it's a new division that had been set up, so it will help you to get a better understanding that okay, maybe this company or this organization or this business is in the growth phase. Another thing that you would really want to understand is that how will your performance be measured in the first 90 days and first 6 months? You should definitely ask that what are going to be my KPIs for first 90 days and for first 6 months, because like I was saying at the start of the video, that usually the in first 2 to 3 months the decision has already been made that whether the employer really wants to keep you as a permanent employee and whether you really want to stick with the company or not. So do ensure that you understand your KPIs well, and you go with that kind of mindset. Another thing that you really want to focus is that what are some of the key challenges that you can encounter during your first 90 days or 6 months, or in general in this role. That would obviously help you to get a better understanding of what kind of roadblocks you might be facing in that role. Now, if you are not getting full clarity, then definitely cross question. Definitely try to ask again if you are not really convinced. And still, if it doesn't resonate with you, or you can't see yourself being successful in that role, or something which is not leveraging your strengths, something which is not aligned to your long term goals or growth, then that to me is definitely a red flag. And if you get a feeling that somebody is not being open enough to answer your questions, that again to me is a red flag. Because if you are not excited before starting a job, if you're not 100% sure and excited, then there is definitely something wrong and you must rethink before joining that role. So the second thing that you would want to really consider is that what is the style of working of your manager. Now there is a famous saying that people don't leave their jobs, but they leave their bosses, and to me that's 100% true. So you really want to understand that what are his or her expectations from you. Also try to gauge his or her management style, and do you remember that understanding your boss management style is key to building a strong working relationship? So try to gauge through his words, through his body language, and most definitely try to meet your boss in person so that you can gauge by the body language, the way he or she is responding to your questions. Try gauging that, probably he or she is more of a micromanager sort of person with those kind of tendencies, or he or she is somebody who is very open minded, who might be flexible and supportive kind of a person, or maybe he's somebody who would be very fault finding, very detail oriented. Do discuss your long term goals and aspirations, how you would like to develop in that role, and see how aligned your goals and aspirations are to what he or she is expecting from you. And through that conversation you will be able to gauge that how supportive that person will be. And in that discussion, one thing to note is that always be more on a listening mode and try to assess how your future manager is responding to some of your questions or concerns. And I do understand that it can be really hard to gauge the exact personality by just meeting once or twice. But that's why I said, try to do these meetings in person so that you can assess the body language. You can pick up on some of the words that the person is talking about. You can assess how they are responding to your concerns or aspiration, and then you can maybe make an overall picture in your mind that does this person seem to be supportive, understanding, or does this person look to be somebody who's very arrogant, doesn't listen properly. Another thing that you would probably want to also consider is that see if you have a common connection over LinkedIn. Maybe somebody knows this person, has worked with this person in the past, so that you can go and seek some genuine feedback. So assessing your manager style of working and his or her expectations is absolutely important. The third thing that you would probably want to consider is that you may really want to assess the company culture. And I think to me, this is really, really important because culture is a make or break situation, at least for me and for so many people that I've spoken to. So you really want to consider that whether the company has a very collaborative culture or they have a very competitive culture. How decisions are made. Are the decisions made in siloed, or they are made by informing employees as well? And again, it might be difficult because nobody in the interview process is going to tell that, hey, we have a toxic work culture, right? Everybody is going to praise their work culture, but ask the panel some very specific questions, or maybe even the HR, ask them, can you give me some specific examples when a company or maybe your manager went out of the way to support and help an employee? understand that how do they deal with employees who are not performing well. Do they sack them, or do they encourage them to perform well? If it's a public company, look at their leadership history to see that is this company having a very unstable senior leadership where the leadership is changing every now and then. Are there signs of attrition and people just moving in and out? If the average retention is very low, then that to me is a red flag. Also, you may really want to consider that does this company have employee centric policies, such as maybe they encourage people to take sabbatical? Does this company provide extended maternity leave if you're looking for a child planning in about a year or 2 years' time? Do they have a childcare facility within or nearby the office premises? Does this company have flexible annual leave and a flexible work culture that embrace and promote people to have a life outside of work? Or are they just expecting you to be available 24 cross 7 and even on the weekends? If that's the case, then for me that's a major red flag. Also, you would want to consider checking the ratings on Glassdoor, and also maybe just see if you have a common connection, or take help from extended community. Send them a message over a LinkedIn if you know somebody who has worked or is working in the same company, and ask for an honest candid feedback. Now, if you are obviously interviewing, or if you're thinking of joining a startup or a small company which doesn't have all this kind of information, then you may not be able to get a lot of information publicly. But in that case, asking some really important questions upfront make a lot more sense. So, area number four that you really want to explore is, and you should definitely not ignore, is the operation side of things. With the hybrid ways of working, you really want to understand that is your company expecting you to come maybe, let's say, 5 days a week in the future, or it's going to be the hybrid working. If it's a hybrid working, then you would really want to consider which days are there, a fixed days where they expect you to come, and does it match with your personal circumstances? What kind of travel and commute is going to be there? Because sometimes I've seen in the past that even though the job is really amazing, but it doesn't fit in your personal life, and the commute is really a killing time sometimes. So it obviously will not work in the long run, because work life balance is really really important, and I made a separate video on the work life balance. To check that out. But do ensure that the job in the long run, or maybe even in the short term, doesn't in any way hamper your other responsibilities. So don't ignore the operation side of things. So the fifth area, last but not the least, is the salary structure and benefits. Now, I think a lot of people make this mistake that they just go with the company who is paying you more. But in my personal experience and my professional experience of 14 years, what I have seen is that just because a company is paying you more does not mean that that job is great. You need to look at a job as an overall package. And when I say the overall package, it includes all the four things that I've spoken about. But specifically, if we look at the salary structure and benefits, you really want to consider that what's the breakup between your fixed and variable? What kind of tax structure would be there? If it's variable component that you have, is it discretionary, or is going to be a part of your salary that's going to be paid out to you annually? If it's going to be paid out to you annually, when exactly it's going to be paid out? Maybe you might realize that, okay, I've joined in June, but I need to wait another 1 year for me to get my bonus. So you really want to understand that when is it paid, how much is it paid, is it discretionary, or is it really paid out every year? In some jobs, there is also a commission, some commission based or some quarterly based targets based on which you get your commission. So you really want to understand that as well. And another thing that you really want to understand is that what are some of the other benefits that the company offers, because there are some companies which offer some great benefits, such as they provide a car. In countries like Australia, for example, where health insurance, private health insurance is not so common, if a company is providing you private health insurance for you and your family, it can easily save you $300 to $400 per month. So you really want to check on some kind of those benefits. Maybe some companies also sponsor post graduation or an MBA, so you may really want to factor in those as well. You also would like to understand, basis the salary structure, what kind of deductions would be there, so that you can arrive at your take home salary, plus understand the benefits in detail, plus understand, like I said, if there are any other perks or variable or commissions on top of that, so that you can have a much better idea rather than just looking at a number and a figure in mind. So those are the top 5 areas that I feel are really, really important when you are looking for your next job. And like I said, it may sound that you are asking too many questions, but if a company is not okay, even when you have not started, if a company feels that you're asking too many questions, then I think, as per me, that's a red flag. Because like I said at the start of the video, that you are going to spend one third of your life and almost one third of your day at your workplace, right? So it definitely matters, and go as if you are an equal partner in an equation, and do assess that is this something that you would really want to take or not. So, as I said at the start of the video, I'm going to be giving you the bonus tip. So, the bonus tip is that always try to do most of the meetings in person. And I know with this virtual way of working, most of us are giving interviews either online, or somebody is in a different state, for example, or in a country. But as much as possible, try to meet with your future colleagues, try to spend time with them, ask maybe the HR. Once maybe all the interviews are done, try asking them, hey, can I spend a day with my future colleagues? Spend time with them, spend time with your boss, insist for in-person meetings, so that you can always get a better understanding of and the vibe of how the company is, how the commute is going to look like, are the people really satisfied or not. And in those conversations, in-person conversations, you can actually figure out a lot more than you would have been told in the interview process. And you can do these in-person meetings even after you have gotten a job offer, before you get started. And if you see any red flag, like I said, don't join the company. All right. So thank you so much for this video, and I hope you have liked my content. If so, then do give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, do subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you the next time. Goodbye.